I think you all agree it's high time for a new project. This machine has been in development for almost a year and a half now at this point, and I'm still not even close to finishing the design, but if I don't start building it now, realistically, it'll never happen. So yeah, this is the fully enclosed laser engraver / cutter I've referenced in quite a few videos already at this point. I went through several design iterations in CAD before arriving at the current version, which was the best I could come up with. That said, with the knowledge I now have after mostly finishing my unipolar 3D printer, there is things I would do quite differently if I were to redesign this thing from scratch. But since I don't have the time to do that, we're just gonna go ahead with this slightly outdated design. It is my very first laser engraver / cutter build after all, so everything's still somewhat experimental and I might just end up changing things midway through the build if I'm not happy with the results. With that said, let's talk about my design criteria. First, and most importantly, the machine somehow needs to fit in this workshop, which, let's be honest, doesn't exactly leave many options in terms of horizontal surfaces to place it on. Really just those two wooden chests in that corner, and those aren't exactly what I'd call horizontal. Ignoring the fact that my mom's gonna be, slightly annoyed if I make these chests even harder to access than they already are, I settled on making it as big as I can while still having it fit onto the larger chest. To have it sit level and not slip off and crash to the floor, I'll simply make a wedge-shaped base with grippy feet for it to sit on, which is very convenient because that base could potentially accommodate the air filtering system that I also have to make if I don't want to smoke up this place. For the work area, I did what I normally do when designing a machine. I tried to get the maximum possible out of the given machine footprint. Of course, I did it the other way around, started with the usable cutting area and designed the rest of the machine around that. But the point is, I kept the clearances between gantry and the actual machine housing as tight as possible to avoid wasted space, because few things are as annoying as a huge machine that can only handle tiny workpieces. Unfortunately, there is a bunch of dead space on the right, but that's just where the gantry has to go on this type of machine. I could have probably been more efficient in reducing the overall width, but I'm not really short of space in the X direction, and if the machine overall has too much of a square aspect ratio going on, it'll look weird too. This still gives me a usable cutting area of 600 by 420 millimeters. I really should have gone for 690 by 420 just for kicks. Now, you might have noticed that I'm using the V-groove version of the popular POM rollers on 20mm aluminum square tubing. That's not because I like doing what everyone does. In fact, I'm more prone to doing things different just because, but you might remember the ball bearings I used on my 3D printer were originally intended for this laser engraver. My plan was to run 2 of these tiny bearings flat against each face of the square tubing like this, kind of similar to a roller coaster, but this approach comes with a problem. How do you tension all these little bearings? That's right, with lots of tiny eccentric nuts. Another fabrication nightmare if you ask me. Then the ball bearings turned out to be of abhorrent quality, and I decided I don't want these bearings anywhere near my laser engraver. This machine is supposed to be usable, not totally experimental. I don't want to build another one right after. So I ran the numbers on what it would cost to buy an equivalent amount of decent bearings, and it turned out pretty much the same as a pack of ready-to-use POM wheels. No point doing things differently if it ultimately just ends up making your life more difficult. So I simply rotated the square tubing 45 degrees and made the V-groove rollers right on the corners, which also allowed me to simplify the carriage design a lot. Here's a mock-up I made for testing. It's literally just 3 pieces of wood, as you can see, and if I put it on the rail, it slides so buttery smooth. I didn't even think that was possible. I definitely do not regret that decision. Next up, the stepper motors. Now, you might have recognized these as the crappy unipolar type I used on my 3D printer, but let me surprise you, these are actually bipolar, as you can tell from there being only 4 wires, which means they should be able to spin much faster thanks to the lower winding impedance. But yeah, other than that, they are manufactured just as cheaply as the unipolar ones, with a low resolution of only 48 steps per revolution, and presumably they have an equally bad microstepping performance. Those motors are going to be paired with M6 threaded rod as lead screws, which result in a tool head positioning resolution of just about 0.02 of a millimeter per full step, or rather half that if I run them in half-step mode, which I'll most definitely do. The bigger X motor drives both lead screws via a timing belt I didn't bother to draw in this model, while the Y stepper drives its lead screw directly. Now, I agree, this motor configuration is not ideal because it'll be slow, and these days I'd likely try to get my hands on some decent 200 step per revolution motor to use in a direct belt drive, like I did for another new project I just started planning. But now that the entire laser cutter is designed around lead screws, I can't really switch to a belt drive very well anymore without redesigning the entire thing. Aside from that, my laser module is really just a simple 5-watt UV diode one, so for cutting, which is pretty much the only use I have for this machine, I'll have to go kinda slow anyway. Or at least that was my justification at the time. That being said, we don't know what slow actually means because I haven't really done any tests yet, so let's do those now. Okay, here's my setup. I have a disc with a bit of reflective tape attached to my motor shaft, and I'm simply going to crank the speed up all the way to right before it stalls and the rotor just can't keep up anymore. Then I'm simply going to take an RPM reading with my Chinese meter here. That seems to be about the maximum I'm getting before it breaks down. And that looks to be about 1,480 RPM, which is a lot for a stepper motor. I'm going to arbitrarily derate that by about 20% to account for friction in the lead screws and bearings, because stepper motor torque drops quite significantly with increased speed, as you can see, which puts us at 1,184 RPM, and because my lead screw pitch is conveniently known to be 1 millimeter, that also means 1,184 millimeters of machine travel per minute. To put that into perspective, I'm going to divide it by 60 to get millimeters per second, and that puts us at just under 20 millimeters per second. 20 millimeters a second should be fine, I think. It's not fast by any means, but it's also not excruciatingly slow. Like, the homing sequence is still gonna take half a minute. That may be a little bit annoying, but unless you want to do grayscale engraving where the laser literally has to cover every single square tenth of a millimeter, in that case you probably want to go faster, but for just cutting outlines in 1 or 2 passes, 10 should be fine. Of course, we should also check if the motor actually has any reasonable torque at our 20% safety margin derated speed, so I'm simply going to set those 1,100 whatever it was RPM using the meter, and then just check with my hands if it's enough. 1,180, there we go. And it seems I'm unable to just stall the motor by grabbing the shaft, so that should be ample torque for just spinning a couple of lead screws. Of course, all of these test results are purely indicative. There is so many variables influencing motor speed and torque. Like, I was running this motor at 12 volts and about 1 amp just now, but if I double the voltage to 24 volts, the motor is gonna go faster. All of that is thanks to the very complex relations between supply voltage and motor phase inductance. I can explain that another day if I understand it well enough myself, but yeah, all of this is just testing to see if those motors are good enough for my machine. And yeah, I should have done that in the beginning before even designing the entire machine. But there we have it. Now, if you're into 3D printing and building machines and stuff like I am, and you don't have a laser cutter sitting around, or maybe you have one but you need a custom bent part out of 4mm aluminum to upgrade your 3D printer X-axis mount, PCBWay offer laser cutting and bending for aluminum, stainless steel, mild steel, copper, and acrylic. And apparently pasta sheets if you entered in the text field, but don't quote me on that. Just drop your design files on their website and they'll cut and bend the part for you according to your specifications. Except for the pasta, maybe. I imagine that would be too brittle for a press brake. So head over to PCBWay for high quality custom sheet metal parts, and thanks to them for sponsoring this video. Moving on to the most important part of my machine, the laser module. This is the Nijay N4630. I purchased it with my own money back in August 2022 before I realized I could just email a company and ask them to send me a free one for review. Whatever, now you know I'm not in any way affiliated with them, I just thought this laser looked promising and bought it. I got it with a $10 discount from their official store. Since then, prices have dropped and you can get it for $10 less without waiting for a sale. Now, they also sell entire laser engravers, but I do not recommend these. Anything with an open frame gantry is a safety hazard, no matter what they try to tell you. And I've since turned down quite a few review offers for exactly that style of machine from multiple companies, because I won't endorse it, even if the free machine they send me is worth $1,000. Speaking of money and buying things, I just want to mention everything you see me buy here is all thanks to you guys watching these videos. I know it sounds lame, everyone says it, but this channel is currently my only source of income and has been for a while now. We started with projects on a $0 budget, and now I can throw 100 quid at a laser, all because you guys watching allows me to run ads and take on sponsorships. Also, a huge shout out goes to my patrons who are now covering what I spend on parts for new projects like this laser cutter, which allows me to use the other revenue to actually pay myself for some of the time I spend doing all this. We're still nowhere near being profitable, but we'll get there eventually. So yeah, I made sure to get the one with air assist because again, I'm not so much into artsy engraving, but rather want the most possible cutting power despite it only being a 5-watt diode. For that, it comes with a milled aluminum nozzle block. This one here to be mounted instead of this plexiglass wannabe protective shield. It also comes with a bunch of other accessories like this solid aluminum mounting clamp and luckily some vinyl tubing. I haven't actually tested it at all yet because, to be honest, I'm low-key terrified of lasers, so I hope it actually works, otherwise I'll be in trouble considering any warranty has long since expired. But now for the even more most important part, laser safety goggles. I bought these on AliExpress for a grand total of $2.12, and even though they seem to be the most ubiquitous type of safety goggles around for that laser class, I don't trust them. I know they block UV light because if I shine an ultraviolet LED at a high-vis jacket, it fluoresces the living daylight out of it, which immediately stops when I put the glasses in between, but they're still pretty awful quality and there's a lot of gaps around them for light to leak through. Plus, I'm not 100% confident a stray laser beam won't just burn straight through the plastic, so I'll probably stump up for a pair of much nicer ones if I can't avoid being in the room in the first place while the machine is running without yet being fully enclosed. I may be overly cautious here, but better safe than sorry. I haven't worked with lasers yet, so I don't have that intuitive understanding of what could be dangerous and what isn't, like I have for electricity. Last but not least, you might have wondered about the brown stuff the entire machine in my CAD model seems to be made out of. This is HDF, aka high density fiberboard, basically the big brother to MDF. God, it's so heavy. I get it for free at a local supermarket where it comes on pallets to stack huge 8-liter water bottles. Little advice, if you see something like this, don't just go in and take it, or else you'll likely piss somebody off. If instead you kindly ask someone if it's about to be thrown out, and if you can have some, more often than not, the employee hates seeing all that stuff go to waste and will happily give it to you. So yeah, it's not the greatest raw material, but it's free and I have tons of it. One side is smooth and shiny, while the other has a texture from the mesh used during manufacture. Of course, the ones toward the bottom of the pellet are slightly warped from the immense weight of all the bottles stacked on top, so I sorted them into 3 grades in terms of flatness, and grade A is what we're going to use here. And while I don't plan on getting started on the actual build in this video, I do need to glue together some pieces for the 2 primary structural plates, so let's do that now. It's been so long I've done any real woodworking, I completely overestimated the amount of glue I need. I guess need to practice your skills or else you lose them. Oh well, I guess in this case, because these two parts are basically the foundation of the entire gantry, more is indeed better than less. So that's the upcoming laser engraver / cutter. I really can't say much more about it because I haven't planned things through anywhere near as well as I should. A lot will probably be determined on the fly with my usual strategy of winging it and dealing with problems afterward. I'm just not used to projects as complex as this yet, and without any prior experience with this type of machine, it's kinda hard to make informed design decisions. That said, there is no hard limit budget for this project. Of course, I'm trying to make it as cheap as possible, otherwise it wouldn't be me, I guess, since that's literally what I've been doing my entire life. And I estimate it'll be around $200 to $250, but unlike with my 3D printer project, I'm not trying to prove a point here. I really just want a safe, functional, fully enclosed laser cutter. Gluing 2 layers of this stuff together has some real advantages. I got a smooth, workable surface on both sides, and the resulting planks are incredibly rigid. Much more rigid than a comparable piece of MDF, and possibly more rigid than quite a few plywoods as well. Only downside could potentially be the weight. This stuff is incredibly hefty. Anyway, I hope you'll enjoy this new series. Feel free to leave your thoughts and suggestions for improvements down in the comments, since I don't entirely know what I'm doing. Next video, I need to fix my 3D printer so I can actually use it to print parts. Then we're gonna jump right into this. Bye bye!